In 1987, Dean Martin's world was shattered when he lost his son in a tragic plane crash. From that moment on, the legendary King of Cool was never the same. He withdrew from the spotlight, turned down million-dollar offers, and spent his final years in quiet solitude. But when he passed away on Christmas Day in 1995, he left behind something incredible, a fortune that would change his family's lives forever. This is the story of how the son of poor Italian immigrants built an empire and the emotional legacy that came with it. Dean Martin was born on June 7, 1917, in Steubenville, Ohio. His real name? Dino Paul Crocetti. His parents had moved from Italy, hoping for a better life in America. But adjusting wasn't easy. As a little boy, Dino only spoke Italian, and when he started school at 5, he struggled. The other kids teased him for his broken English and his unfamiliar name. Feeling like an outsider, he quickly learned that humor could be his best defense. Making people laugh turned their mockery into friendship, a skill that would later make him a global star. By the time he was a teenager, Dino found an escape from his struggles: music. Playing the drums brought him joy and planted the seed for his love of performing. At 16, he decided school wasn't for him and dropped out. He jumped straight into tough, hands-on jobs, including working in a steel mill where the labor was brutal. He even tried his luck as a boxer, calling himself Kid Crochet. He fought 12 matches and later joked that he only won one. The sport left him with scars, broken knuckles, and a crooked nose, but it also taught him resilience, something that would serve him well in the years to come. During Prohibition, Dino took some risks, smuggling alcohol when it was illegal. He also worked as a blackjack dealer in underground gambling clubs, rubbing shoulders with all kinds of characters. These early experiences toughened him up, shaping the charm and street smarts that would define his persona. By the early 1940s, he started chasing his true passion: music. Singing in nightclubs under the name Dino Martini, inspired by a famous opera singer. His smooth, effortless voice caught people's attention. A band leader named Sammy Watkins saw his potential and suggested a name change: Dean Martin. And just like that, a new chapter began. Of course, success didn't come overnight. One of his first big performances at a fancy New York club was a total disaster. But instead of quitting, he kept going, improving his act and sharpening his skills. It was during this time that fate led him to a young comedian named Jerry Lewis. In 1945, Dean Martin and Jerry Lewis crossed paths at the Glass Hat Club in New York City. At the time, Martin was already making a name for himself as a suave nightclub singer, while Lewis was still struggling to find his comedic voice. Their first meeting was pure chance. Martin was on stage performing when Lewis, in his usual mischievous style, started heckling him with jokes and wild antics. It could have ruined the act, but instead, the audience went wild with laughter. Right then and there, they realized they had stumbled onto something magical. From that night on, they teamed up, performing in clubs all over New York. The combination of Martin's smooth, laid-back singing and Lewis's over-the-top, chaotic humor was a hit. Audiences couldn't get enough of their unique mix of music and comedy. Their real breakthrough came on July 25, 1946, at the 500 Club in Atlantic City. They had been booked as separate acts, but when another performer suddenly canceled, they decided to take the stage together. That night would change everything. One night, Lewis, dressed as a busboy, stormed Martin's set, pretending to clean tables while dropping dishes and cracking ridiculous jokes. The scene was pure chaos, but it was also comedy gold. Martin played along effortlessly, and the result was a perfect blend of music and slapstick humor. The audience went wild, and even the club owner, who had been skeptical about the whole thing, had to admit they were onto something special. That performance put them on the map, and before long, they were playing in some of the most famous clubs in the country, including the legendary Copacabana in New York. Their act kept evolving, and their chemistry was unbeatable. Martin's smooth, effortless singing, paired with Lewis's unpredictable, off-the-wall antics, made for a show that felt fresh every single time. They didn't rely on a strict script, which meant no two performances were ever the same. Crowds couldn't get enough of their raw energy and originality, and soon, the duo became a national sensation. By 1949, their popularity had skyrocketed, and NBC took notice. They were offered their very own radio show, The Martin and Lewis Show, which quickly became one of the most listened-to programs in the country. Their unique brand of humor now reached people right in their homes, making them even bigger star. Hollywood wasn't far behind. That same year, they landed their first movie, My Friend Irma. Martin played a charming singer, while Lewis delivered his signature goofy antics as his sidekick. Though they weren't the main stars, they completely stole the show. Audiences loved them, and the film's success cemented their place in Hollywood. It was clear, these two weren't just nightclub performers anymore. They were box office gold. Between 1950 and 1955, Martin and Lewis changed television forever with the Colgate Comedy Hour. Their partnership and comedic style were unlike anything people had ever seen. They didn't just read lines off a script, they improvised, ad-libbed, and made every performance feel completely alive and unpredictable. This raw, spontaneous energy made their show a massive hit. Their very first episode, which aired on September 17, 1950, was a game-changer. Filmed at the Park Theater in New York, it had a jaw-dropping budget of $3 million, about $36 million in today's money. The network was betting big on them, and that gamble paid off. Their ratings were through the roof, even beating out established stars like Eddie Cantor. What made Martin and Lewis stand out was how they broke all the rules of television at the time. They didn't just follow a script, they played around, made things up on the spot, and constantly surprised audiences. In one episode, Lewis randomly interrupted Martin's singing by yelling, "Who ordered the steak?" It wasn't planned, but the audience roared with laughter, and the moment became legendary. Their shows were a mix of music, comedy, and parodies that poked fun at movies and TV. Martin's smooth, laid-back style balanced out Lewis's wild energy perfectly, creating a unique form of entertainment that would later inspire shows like Saturday Night Live. With their TV success skyrocketing, Hollywood wanted more. Between 1949 and 1956, they made 16 movies together, most of which were huge box office hits. Their first starring film, At War with the Army, 1950, had a modest budget of $560,000, but went on to make over $3.3 million, proving just how much audiences loved them. Another major hit came in 1952 with The Stooge. This film felt personal. It told the story of a struggling singer, played by Martin, whose career took off after teaming up with a wacky partner, played by Lewis. The film pulled in $5.5 million and showed that they could blend comedy with genuine, heartfelt moments. By 1951, they were the biggest entertainers in the world. That year alone, they made $1 million, which in today's money is more than $123 million. Their income came from everywhere: movies, nightclubs, radio, and television. Their live performances alone earned them a staggering $25,000 a week, and some of their TV episodes paid them as much as $100,000. They weren't just entertainers anymore, they were an unstoppable entertainment empire. What made their rise so unbelievable was how fast it happened. In just 5 years, they went from being complete unknowns to the biggest stars in the world. Part of their success wasn't just talent, it was smart business moves. They made sure they had control over their careers, securing deals that gave them a cut of their movie profits and even allowing them to approve scripts. But even with all the success, their partnership wasn't built to last. By 1952, cracks were starting to show. Dean was getting tired of always playing the straight man, setting Jerry up for the big laughs while rarely getting any himself. During the filming of Three Ring Circus in 1954, his frustration finally boiled over. He turned to Jerry and said, "Hey Jerry, what am I around here? A fifth wheel? If I'm not important to the act anymore, just let me know." He had a point. In that movie, Dean only got to sing twice, once to a group of caged animals and once to Jerry, while Jerry, as always, was the center of attention. Over time, Dean felt less like an equal and more like an afterthought. Things reached a breaking point in 1956 while planning The Delicate Delinquent. Dean was supposed to play a cop, but he flat out refused, saying, "Start looking, boy." It was obvious. He was done being in Jerry's shadow. The truth was, they were two very different people. Jerry was a perfectionist, obsessed with rehearsing every tiny detail. Dean, on the other hand, was easygoing and didn't take things too seriously. He once joked, "I've got it made. I don't have to work anymore. I've got Jerry Lewis." But their differences only made the tension worse. On the Colgate Comedy Hour, Jerry insisted on endless rehearsals, while Dean would duck out early to go play golf. During one heated moment, Jerry snapped at him, "You're nothing but a goddamn no-talent bum." That insult cut deep. By the time they filmed Hollywood or Bust, their friendship was beyond saving. They barely spoke, and Dean even started referring to Jerry as the monkey, showing just how much his respect for him had faded. Jerry's growing need to control everything only added fuel to the fire. During Three Ring Circus, Jerry told a producer, "You'd better let me go with him alone. I can get more out of him." Little moments like this made Dean feel like he was being pushed aside. Tensions were at an all-time high. Both of them refused to show up on the first day of filming, and when they finally did, Dean hated the script's focus on Jerry. It was clear how far apart they had drifted. The media only made things worse. Jerry got most of the praise, while Dean was often overlooked. One critic even wrote that Jerry could succeed with any straight man, which hit Dean hard. There were plenty of little moments that stung. During the filming of Three Ring Circus, a group of kids ran up to Dean and asked, "Hey mister, where's Jerry Lewis?" Witnesses said the look on Dean's face was absolutely heartbreaking. Then, while promoting Living It Up in 1954, Look magazine published a photo, but cropped Dean out completely, leaving only Jerry. It felt like a slap in the face, proof that he was being sidelined. Press events were just as bad. Reporters only seemed interested in Jerry. At one interview, Dean finally snapped, "Don't mind me, I'm just the guy who sings." Even their once electric chemistry started to fizzle out. At a photo shoot on July 18, 1954, they barely spoke. Dean wouldn't even look at Jerry. The photos captured their smiles, but behind the scenes, things were falling apart. By early 1955, during the filming of Artists and Models, the tension exploded. On February 14th, Jerry kept demanding retakes, frustrating both the crew and Dean. During a break, Jerry tried to talk to Dean about some changes. That's when Dean snapped. In front of everyone, he shouted, "You can talk about love all you want. To me, you're nothing but a dollar sign." Jerry, usually quick with a comeback, was completely silent. He turned and walked away, leaving the entire room stunned. It was obvious. Their partnership was broken beyond repair. By the time they started filming Hollywood or Bust in 1956, things were ice cold between them. On April 3rd, the first day of filming, they didn't speak unless they absolutely had to. Director Frank Tashlin later described the atmosphere on set as Arctic. It got so bad that some scenes were filmed separately just to keep them apart. The world still saw them as a duo, but behind the cameras, their friendship was long gone. On May 2nd, tensions between them were impossible to ignore. At one point, Jerry made a joke about Dean singing, expecting a playful comeback. Instead, Dean shot him a cold glare that froze the room. Co-star Pat Crowley, overwhelmed by the uncomfortable atmosphere, broke down in tears. Their final performance together took place on July 25, 1956 at the Copacabana in New York, exactly a decade after they had debuted as a duo. The club was packed with Hollywood's biggest stars, including Frank Sinatra and Humphrey Bogart. The audience gave them thunderous applause as they launched into some of their classic routines, including the Awo Caveman sketch. Dean sang "That's Amore," but something was missing. The magic just wasn't the same. Their banter felt forced. Their jokes lacked the effortless energy they once had, and it was clear to everyone that their time together was coming to an end. The most emotional moment of the night came when they performed their final duet, Partners. As they sang, "You and me will be the greatest partners, buddies, and pals," many in the crowd were moved to tears. Despite the tension between them, their history and shared success were undeniable. When the show ended, the audience erupted into a standing ovation that lasted a full 5 minutes. It was the end of an era. When Dean Martin walked away from Jerry Lewis in 1956, many assumed his career was finished. After all, Jerry was the one who got the big laughs. How could Dean succeed on his own? But instead of fading into obscurity, he shocked everyone by becoming an even bigger star. The late 1950s were a challenging time for traditional crooners like Dean, as rock and roll was taking over and leaving many struggling to stay relevant. But instead of chasing trends, Dean leaned into his smooth, effortless style, while also taking a bold step into serious acting. His first solo movie, 10,000 Bedrooms, 1957, flopped, but it was just the beginning. The real turning point came in 1958 when he starred in The Young Lions, a World War II drama alongside Marlon Brando and Montgomery Clift. This was his moment to prove that he was more than just the funny guy in a comedy duo. His performance earned critical praise and helped him rebuild his reputation as a serious actor. That same year, he teamed up with Frank Sinatra in Some Came Running, further proving his ability to hold his own in dramatic roles. While he was making waves in Hollywood, his music career was also reaching new heights. He signed with Capitol Records and began releasing hit after hit. In 1958, he recorded Volare, a song that became an international sensation. climbing the charts in both the US and the UK. Fans couldn't get enough of his smooth, laid-back style. Then, in 1964, he released Everybody Loves Somebody, which became his biggest hit of all. It was so successful that it even knocked the Beatles off the top of the charts, proving that Dean Martin was still a force to be reckoned with. Dean's life took another major turn when he joined the Rat Pack in the late 1950s. This legendary group, made up of Frank Sinatra, Sammy Davis Jr., Joey Bishop, and Peter Lawford, was more than just a collection of entertainers. They were the kings of Las Vegas, the ultimate symbols of Hollywood glamour and the life of every party. Martin was already famous as a singer and actor, but being part of the Rat Pack elevated him to a whole new level. Their live shows at the Sands Hotel in Vegas became the stuff of legend. They didn't just perform, they jokes, teased each other, and made the audience feel like they were part of the fun. Martin's effortless charm and smooth vocals made him a perfect fit, and songs like That's Amore and Ain't That a Kick in the Head became signature hits. His relaxed, easygoing style made him a fan favorite, and he embraced the persona of the carefree, whiskey-sipping crooner who never seemed to take anything too seriously. While the Rat Pack had a genuine bond, it wasn't always smooth sailing. Martin and Sinatra, for example, were great friends, but their strong personalities sometimes clashed. Still, when they were on stage together, their chemistry was undeniable. Every performance felt spontaneous and full of energy, making their shows truly unforgettable. As he dominated the stage, Martin was also making his mark on the big screen. In 1960, he starred in Ocean's 11, playing Jimmy Foster, one of the suave criminals pulling off a daring Las Vegas casino heist. The film, which featured the entire Rat Pack, became an instant classic, and later inspired the modern Ocean's 11 remakes with George Clooney and Brad Pitt. 4 years later, Martin teamed up with Sinatra and Bing Crosby for Robin and the Seven Hoods, 1964. A musical comedy that blended their signature coolness with a playful twist on the Robin Hood legend. By this point, Martin had fully reinvented himself, not just as a singer or an actor, but as an entertainment icon. The days of being Jerry Lewis's straight man were long behind him. In a clever twist on the Robin Hood legend, Dean Martin starred in Robin and the Seven Hoods, a musical comedy set in Prohibition-era Chicago. But he didn't just act, he sang too, bringing the same effortless charm that made him a Las Vegas sensation. Martin had a way of making everything seem natural and easygoing, whether he was on a film set or performing in front of a packed crowd. His smooth, laid-back style turned him into a true Vegas icon, and audiences couldn't get enough of his relaxed, cocktail-in-hand performances. He had a signature style, sipping a drink on stage while crooning hits like Everybody Loves Somebody, a song that skyrocketed to the top of the charts in 1964, even knocking the Beatles from their #1 spot. Every show felt spontaneous, filled with playful jokes and effortless charm. He never took himself too seriously, and that made people love him even more. His performances at the Sands Hotel drew in massive crowds, from Hollywood's biggest stars to influential politicians, all eager to witness the King of Cool in action. As if dominating the music and film industries wasn't enough, Martin took over television as well. The Dean Martin Show premiered in 1965 and ran for an impressive 9 years, airing a total of 264 episodes. It became one of NBC's biggest hits, blending comedy, music, and A-list celebrity guests into an unforgettable weekly event. But what made the show truly special was Martin himself. He had an unmatched charisma, always appearing cool and relaxed, often with a drink in hand, which he jokingly claimed was just apple juice. He had a unique ability to make everything look effortless, which made audiences feel like they were just hanging out with an old friend. The show wasn't just about music, though Martin sang many of his biggest hits like Everybody Loves Somebody and That's Amore. He also had a brilliant sense of humor, effortlessly shifting between scripted jokes and off-the-cuff improvisation. Every episode felt fresh and unpredictable. He welcomed big-name guests like Frank Sinatra, Sammy Davis Jr., and Orson Welles, and their playful banter made it feel like viewers were getting a peek into an exclusive Hollywood party. In 1967, Martin won a Golden Globe for his work on the show, proving just how much audiences adored his easygoing charm. As the years went on, the show's ratings started to slip. But instead of calling it quits, the producers came up with a genius idea: Dean Martin's Celebrity Roast. The format was simple but brilliant. Martin and a group of stars would gather to good-naturedly poke fun at a celebrity guest. The first roast aired in 1974, honoring Bob Hope, and it was such a massive hit that it became a regular event, continuing even after the Dean Martin Show ended. Martin was the perfect host for these roasts, delivering sharp, witty jokes while keeping the atmosphere fun and lighthearted. The roasts featured actors, musicians, and even politicians, giving audiences a chance to see their favorite stars letting loose in ways they never could in scripted films or shows. The humor was often edgy, but it never crossed the line into mean-spirited. Fans loved seeing big-name celebrities laugh at themselves, and the roasts became must-watch television. While Martin's career was dazzling, his personal life was just as eventful. He was married 3 times and had a total of 8 children. His first marriage was to Betty McDonald in 1941, before he became famous. They had 4 children together: Craig, Claudia, Gail, and Dina. However, as Dean's career took off, their marriage struggled under the pressure, and they divorced in 1949. Even after separating, Martin remained a dedicated father, always making time for his kids despite his whirlwind career. Later that same year, Martin married Jean Beager, a relationship that would last 24 years and proved to be much more stable. Together, they had 3 children: Dean Paul, Richie, and Gina. Their marriage lasted through some of the most successful years of Martin's career, and even after they divorced in 1973, they remained on good terms. They co-parented their children with mutual respect and supported each other through life's challenges. In 1973, Martin married his 3rd wife, Katherine Hahn, who was much younger and had been working as a receptionist when they met. Martin adopted her daughter, Sasha, and treated her like his own. However, the marriage didn't have the same lasting power as his previous one, and they divorced just 3 years later in 1976. Though his personal life had its ups and downs, Martin's devotion to his family remained constant, and he always made sure that his children were a priority. Even after his split from Katherine, Dean remained a devoted father to Sasha. No matter how much his personal life changed, one thing stayed constant: his love for his children. With 8 kids from different marriages, Martin made sure they all felt connected, creating a strong family bond despite his busy and high-profile life. His daughter Dina often recalled their family dinners, saying it was clear how much he cared about his children. Growing up around Hollywood legends like Frank Sinatra and Marilyn Monroe might have been surreal, but what stood out most to her was her father's warmth and sense of humor. Martin never let fame get in the way of being a dad. His son Richie once said that their father had a way of bringing the entire family together, making sure no one felt left out. Even Sasha, his adopted daughter, was treated with the same love and care as his biological children. This showed just how much Martin valued family, no matter how complex his personal life became. He may have been the king of cool, but behind the swagger and charm, he was a man who deeply cared about his loved ones. Of course, Martin's charisma also led to several high-profile romances. He was linked to famous women like Angie Dickinson and Dinah Shore, relationships that often made headlines and added to his legendary status. His smooth, effortless appeal made him irresistible to many, but at his core, he always put his children first. However, his world changed forever in 1987 when his son Dean Paul Martin tragically died in a plane crash. Dean Paul was flying a military jet during a training mission when it crashed into a mountain. He was only 35 years old. The devastating loss shattered Martin. Friends and family noticed a dramatic shift in him. He became quieter, more withdrawn, and struggled with drinking in the aftermath. Losing his son took a toll on him in ways that nothing else ever had. After Dean Paul's passing, Martin's enthusiasm for performing faded. He turned down offers to appear on stage and even cut short a reunion tour with Frank Sinatra and Sammy Davis Jr. The pressures of public life no longer interested him. Instead, he focused on simple pleasures that brought him peace. Golf became one of his favorite pastimes, and he could often be found on the course enjoying the solitude. He also loved watching old Western movies, losing himself in the nostalgia of a simpler era. These quiet routines helped him find comfort in his later years. As time went on, Martin drifted further from Hollywood, choosing to spend time with close friends rather than seeking the spotlight. His retirement wasn't just about stepping away from the stage. It was about finding peace after an unimaginable loss. By the time he passed away on Christmas Day in 1995, he had left behind an extraordinary legacy, along with an impressive fortune of $30 million. Martin's wealth was the result of decades of success as a singer, actor, and comedian. His rise to fame began in the 1940s when he teamed up with Jerry Lewis, forming one of the most beloved comedy duos of all time. Their mix of slapstick humor and musical performances made them household names. But after their split in 1956, Martin's career soared to even greater heights. He became a chart-topping singer with hits like That's Amore and Everybody Loves Somebody, while proving himself as a serious actor in films like Rio Bravo and Airport. Beyond his entertainment career, Martin was also a savvy investor. In the 1970s, he purchased a home in Beverly Hills for just $120,000. Over the years, he expanded it into a stunning 12,000-square-foot mansion where he lived for the rest of his life. After his passing, the house was sold for $135 million, then again in 2003 for $2 million. Today, a modern mansion stands on the property, now valued at nearly $28 million. An incredible testament to how much the estate's worth has grown over time. Martin also owned a stylish home in Palm Springs, a city known for its celebrity retreats. Shortly after his death, the property was sold for just $25,000, an amount shockingly low compared to the lavish lifestyle Martin was known for. However, regardless of the financial figures, his true legacy wasn't measured in dollars, but in the unforgettable impact he left on music, film, television, and the people who loved him. These homes weren't just places where Dean Martin lived, they were smart investments that grew in value over time, ensuring his family would be financially secure long after he was gone. To further protect his legacy, Martin established the Dean Martin Family Trust. This trust was designed to manage royalties from his music, television shows, and licensing deals, guaranteeing that his loved ones would continue to benefit from his hard work. Even today, The Dean Martin Show still airs, bringing in revenue while introducing new generations to his timeless charm. Merchandise and other branding deals also help keep his name alive, proving that the King of Cool never truly left the stage. Managing his estate was no small task, especially with 8 children: Craig, Claudia, Gail, Diana, Dean Paul, Richie, Gina, and Sasha, all involved in dividing his fortune. Each child received a share based on their relationship with him and their individual needs. Diana, for example, has worked tirelessly to preserve her father's memory, which may have influenced her portion of the inheritance. However, handling Martin's estate wasn't just about dividing assets. His children had to navigate the complexities of managing the rights to his music, image, and intellectual property, while also dealing with the emotional weight of losing their father. Despite his passing, Dean Martin's name remains as legendary as ever. His estate has successfully adapted to the modern world, making sure his music and films reach younger audiences. Streaming platforms and social media have played a major role in reintroducing his work to new fans, keeping his voice and charisma alive. In 2023, a major deal was struck with Iconic Artists Group, an organization dedicated to managing and revitalizing the legacies of entertainment icons. Their goal is to bring Martin's legacy into the modern era through licensing deals, merchandise, and even potential film projects about his life. These efforts not only preserve his influence in pop culture, but also ensure continued financial support for his heirs. One of Dean Martin's children, Deanna Martin, has been particularly dedicated to honoring her father's legacy. Born in 1948, she grew up surrounded by the glitz and glamour of his fame, experiencing firsthand what it was like to be the daughter of a Hollywood legend. As a child, she performed alongside her father, and as an adult, she continues to celebrate his work by touring around the world, singing his classic hits, and sharing personal stories about him. She even wrote a heartfelt memoir, Memories Are Made of This, Dean Martin Through His Daughter's Eyes, which gives fans an intimate glimpse into his life beyond the stage. The book has been so well received that it's now being adapted into a movie, bringing even more attention to her father's extraordinary journey. Deanna also organizes the annual Dean Martin Festival in his hometown of Steubenville, Ohio, where fans gather to celebrate his life and music. The festival not only honors Martin's legacy, but also helps young musicians through scholarships, ensuring that his love for music continues to inspire future generations. Through her efforts, Deanna has played a vital role in keeping her father's memory alive, proving that his influence extends far beyond his own era. The partnership with Iconic Artists Group has introduced fresh ideas for maintaining Dean Martin's relevance in today's world. They're developing products inspired by his signature style, exploring ways to retell his story through film and music, and finding new opportunities to keep his presence strong in pop culture. By blending his classic appeal with modern marketing strategies, Martin's legacy continues to reach new fans while staying connected with those who have cherished him for decades. His effortless charm, smooth voice, and timeless coolness ensure that he remains one of the most beloved entertainers of all time.